Do you know whose idea it was when Bon Scott passed away to do Back in Black? So Malcolm and Angus were kind of like, they weren't sure if they should move forward with an album afterwards. You know whose idea it was to push them into making Back in Black? Evening, Brent.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. You know what? I feel like I want to start this off with an apology to everybody who tuned in last week and heard my 2.5 to 3 star rating of Metallica's Master of Puppets. That is definitely like that. I'm not going to give it a 5-star, but that is like an easy 4-star album. So I know, like, if you watched last week, you're probably pissed and you're not here this week. So I respect that. But if you showed up, thank you. I'm renewing it to a 4-star. So just
so why is this?
Because I listened to Back in Black this week. And I was like, wow. I know that they're both like kind of, again, Metallica is thrash metal. Back in Black, ACDC, apparently for their time were considered heavy metal, whatever. Two different genres, I get it, but when you think about and you listen to what Master of Puppets, everything surrounding that music, it's incredible. It is incredible, and it's incredibly orchestrated. It's incredibly put together, and just listening to Back in Black made me realize that we're gonna get into Back in Black, but it was just having listened to this album, I was like, wow, Master of Puppets is pretty incredible. I need to revisit this.
You do need, I guess, points of comparison, right, for something like that. So when you do listen to other albums of that genre, especially, you can really see the brilliance in the record. Right. For a second, I thought you were going to rip on Back in Black. No.
But did you notice, do you know what I was wearing last week? Do you remember what I was wearing last episode?
What is this, a date?
Well, isn't it every Thursday night a date?
It kind of is, I guess.
Is it every Thursday? I was wearing a black hoodie.
Okay.
Now wearing a black sweater.
Okay.
I'm Back in Black.
Oh, good Lord. Look how proud of yourself you are.
Oh, I've been waiting on that one all day.
I was going to say, you're probably just waiting, like you're at 9:30, you're like, I'm going to pop this joke on Jensen, and
I'm going to wear a black sweater, and I'm going to get him. Yeah, you bet.
I'm like, what is the connection? Where are you going with this? Good
also,
Lord.
Renewed sense of energy. I got myself a standing desk. Well, my mother bought me a standing desk. So
I was going to say, oh, look at you.
So now this is really going to hit me. Now it can't hit me like out of nowhere, also.
Now you're going to fall down. You can't just slump in your chair. Oh, look, correct. Show it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I went and got it. Got a little 1792.
Good for you. That is a nice bottle. What do you think?
Yep, it's nice. Much nicer than the Knob Creek that I had, which is fine, but that one, like I said, I think it was just too much sweet or flavor something. This is nice.
Vanilla bit in that I like.
Yeah. It and smells nice too. Oh, look at you!
There's still a little bit left in that bottle.
So
now, Back in Black.
Yeah,
Alex.
Yes.
Tell me about your impressions.
I'm listening to it right now as well as we do this. I don't know if you can hear it through the headphones. I hope you can't. But oh man, it's a groovy album, man. Like this is what I know of ACDC. Hell's Bells, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long. These are some of the tunes, and it was cool to listen to the rest of the album and get a feel for it, and just really rock out song after song after song. It's cool.
There's not a bad, again, like the Black Rose record that we talked about, their first album. There's not a bad song on this record, really.
Yeah. No.
right? Rock and roll ain't noise pollution is iffy, but
it's closer.
It's a single too, which is kind of weird. In its company, it's probably the least impressive song, but if that was on any other album, it would be, great.
It's an anthem as well on any other album too. So yeah,
and everything else on this album is just money.
Yeah, it's good. It's good front to back. You know what? To be perfectly honest, I kind of got to the point where like I think it's cool. It's good. It's a good rocker, but I'm like, it's almost like it's like too much. It's like too much of like this. Like there's not enough, as we've said before, texture. It's like it's almost like I couldn't listen to it a lot.
I mean, there's no like ballads, right? There's no
I don't need a ballad of it,
Yeah, I know it's not a light and shade album, right?
Right.
It's not a like fast and slow record. Yeah, but you know what? I kind of like that about ACDC. And ACDC is not a band. I think somebody was talking about this in the press recently. There wasn't a lot of growth, with ACDC. Who cares?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't care. Think about their records. Look back at their anthology. It doesn't matter.
No.
It's so good. The material is good. And it's simple. And the magic behind this record, as a matter of fact, is the simplicity of it. It's spare. And there is wide open spaces. You listen to Back in Black, for example. Not a lot of bands have courage to have silence in songs, right? Dude. Silence, do, silence, do. There's a drum beat keeping it together, right? Bands are like, let's fill the, spaces with guitar solos and whatever else. AC/DC was like, no. And that's important. That's what makes this album good.
Now, is that them or is that Mutt?
That's them.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, the sonics on this record really, really improved over, Highway to Hell was the previous album. Let There Be Rock was before that, live record in between those. But the sonics were not great. And I think it was a guy named George Vanda who was producing previously. But when they brought Mutt in, like everything changed in terms of like just the tonal quality of the record.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm. It really does, right?
It sounds like we've talked in the past of broken record here of albums and songs, again with Exile on Main Street. I love that you can tell, you can it's not perfectly produced because of where they recorded and things like that. This to me is like this is like, you can't say overly, it's just perfectly produced. It sounds perfect. The instruments sound perfect. Everything, it's actually perfect. To me, to my ears. It just sounds like this is like a great, perfect sounding rock, heavy metal album.
So heavy metal.
I could keep coming back to that. This is so ridiculous.
I know you're winding me up because that it's so clear that this is hard rock.
Do you know who called it heavy metal?
Who?
Rolling Stone magazine back in the day called it heavy metal.
I'm not surprised by that.
Okay.
It wasn't really hard rock was not their kind of a genre of specialty. Do you know what I mean?
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anything, people called Led Zeppelin heavy metal when they first started.
Right.
Just because it's louder and maybe it's, the focus is on guitars, that doesn't mean that it's heavy metal. AC/DC's blues based, it swings, Think about Black Sabbath and those riffs. Think about bands like Accept and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. That's heavy metal. AC/DC is not.
Not heavy metal.
No.
Never considered them heavy metal.
No.
I considered them your other favorite genre, classic rock.
Another bad name. Classic rock.
Classic rock. It's everywhere.
That's a tougher one, though. Well, it's tough because, you think about classic rock, but then, I don't know, like classic rock includes Supertramp.
What do you think about this? Why don't we stamp it right here? We get rid of the terminology classic rock. We call it timeless rock. Huh?
Timeless rock.
It is no longer classic rock. It is timeless rock.
It's a tough one because there isn't really, you can't with like hair metal, which I also don't agree with. Bands like Cinderella was not a metal band, but like they're called hair metal. I just call them hair bands. So that's an easy one to kind of get past. But classic rock is tough because what do you call it? What's that grouping?
Timeless.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe.
I'm right. You know it.
Timeless. It seems odd.
Hell's Bells kicks off this record. It's pretty damn cool. It's great way to kick off an album.
There is a sinister aspect to this song that just still freaks me out to this day. This came out when I was 11 years old, and it scared me. That bell is, and again, the spareness, right? There's nothing else. You just hear that bell, and it's like the Black Album. Like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen, right? And then you hear that like dee dee dee. It's so creepy. That bell was put on at the very end of the recording sessions for the record. And I think it was recorded by, what they tried to do was get the bell sound from a foundry, and they didn't have any success. So then they sent a guy out in a mobile studio to get church bells. But the problem is that birds live inside or on those bells in the belfry, I think it's called. And so when the bell rings, all the birds flock out and you can hear their wings flapping, right? So it was useless. And so then I think they got a hold of the foundry and got a perfectly tuned bell and recorded that.
Wow.
But it's perfect. Like the tone of it is like absolutely spot on.
So the album was recorded in the Bahamas.
Nassau. Because
a lot of storms were happening in Nassau. That's where the opening lines of Hell's Bells came together for Brian Johnson.
That's right. He drew inspiration from the weather. Yeah, pretty cool, eh?
Yeah,
because it's cool. The lyrics, it's very you put yourself in it. It's like, ooh, you can imagine. It's very evil. It has the sinister aspect of the song.
Totally. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm rolling thunder, pouring rain, coming on like a hurricane. All of that was kind of just brought together as he heard the rolling thunder coming in. And I guess the studio was pretty it was pretty grungy, pretty small. Yeah.
Yeah. Very Spartan. So it was like just a little brick. I guess it was made of like cinder block. Right. And it was just very primitive, run by this old Black woman who like kind of ran the place with an iron fist, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Haitians used to break in there and rob the place. So she gave them these spears to use at night in case someone tried to break in. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, just use this. You'll be good. Yeah.
You'll be fine. Here's a spear.
Thanks. Cheers. Yeah. Also a lot of pressure on Brian Johnson. This is the first album that he would come in following the passing of Bon Scott.
That's right.
And take over. And I know a lot of they didn't even use any of Bon Scott's lyrics because they didn't want to sound like for any of the songs because they didn't want to seem like they were taking advantage or of his writing or trying to take his money or something like that.
Although there is some speculation that You Shook Me All Night Long when we get to that song were Bond's lyrics.
Oh, interesting.
We'll talk about that.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Shoot to Thrill. Well, so yeah, Hell's Bells great. Shoot to Thrill. Killer number 2.
Right.
Killer.
So simple too. So simple, but so perfect.
Yeah.
People have studied this record in terms of like trying to figure out how to replicate it. One of those people was Chad Kroeger from Nickelback. He brought Mutt Lange in and they listened to the album together. And Chad Kroeger's aim was to try to release another Back in Black. And he admitted this. He said, I studied that album, like note for note, trying to replicate it. And I can't. There's a magic about it that will never, ever be replicated.
That's the last time we'll ever mention Chad Kroeger on the show, by the way. That's fine. I'm kidding. Chad. I'm kidding.
It takes a lot of stick.
To be a successful Canadian band, you would take a lot of crow, I guess, eh?
A lot of crow.
What
does that mean?
I don't know.
What does that mean? Crow.
I don't even know why.
I don't even know why.
I don't know. Are you kidding me? Millennial saying crow? That's
Get
older than you are.
Eating crow, I've heard of.
whatever.
Taking Stick, I've heard of. Taking
Of course.
Crow,
Don't
never
worry.
heard of.
You're always right. Shoot the Thrill is just a Shoot the Thrill is it's a killer number 2, man. This is a great 1-2 punch album.
It is.
These songs, like, what are they? I'm trying to do the lyric thing. Anything important about what I'm listening to? No.
Actually, yes. You know what?
All right.
For this, Brian Johnson. So this is kind of weird that Brian Johnson apparently wrote most of the lyrics for this record. Okay. But was like a newbie. Came in. Yeah. A lot of pressure on him. Yeah. And so the guys said, feel free to write lyrics and we'll kind of, collaborate and all that stuff. And he was reading the paper, apparently. And he read about the fact that in the London suburbs, there was this neighborhood kind of pusher, like a drug dealer, who walked around the neighborhoods of London in the suburbs and supplied middle-aged housewives with drugs. And so almost like Mother's Little Helper, Rolling Stones, right? And so apparently what happened was these women would take these drugs and then they would kind of be all free with themselves and go down to the pubs and try to solicit, extramarital relationships.
Oh, wow.
This was the basis of this article.
Wow.
And so Johnson read this and thought, like, that's funny. Like, Shoot to Thrill is like, I'm going to give you drugs and then, you're going to go down to the pub and try and, pull some dude. Yeah. So that was the impetus behind this song, apparently. Kind of funny, right?
Well, totally, because then that would lead into What Do You Do for Money, Honey?
Yes.
Not that maybe it has any relation. I don't know, but
I don't think so. It's straightforward prostitution anthem.
Well, I was just wondering, is following that story, maybe this was a question that was asked of
all
these.
Up for grabs.
Yeah, all up for grabs. Do you know whose idea it was when Bon Scott passed away to do Back in Black? So Malcolm and Angus were kind of like, they weren't sure if they should move forward with an album afterwards. You know whose idea it was to push them into making Back in Black?
Friends and family told them to keep going, right?
Bon Scott's dad.
No.
Yeah, he's like, you got to keep it going. You can't stop. And to an extent, Malcolm and Angus were like, we can't just, yes, like, we get it. It's not going to be the same with whoever we get. It could literally, like, ACDC could die with Bon Scott. We don't have to keep this going. But Bon Scott's dad was also an advocate for keeping the group alive.
It's interesting because the break was not substantial, right? So Bon passed away in February.
Yeah.
And they started recording this album in April. So it was pretty swift.
Yeah.
The album came out in July. Big risk putting Johnson in that role because their voices are completely different.
The voice obviously is key for AC/DC, but the riffs are really, to me, when I hear the riffs, like, that's AC/DC for me. Obviously, the voice really brings it all together, and you're like, obviously, but just when I hear this music, like the riffs, especially throughout this, you're like, yes, this is AC/DC, like, it, right?
Yeah. Among the best, right? I was thinking when I was listening to this record, Led Zeppelin did quite a lot to move hard rock forward, obviously. But AC/DC moved it forward in 1980 with this record so far with like riffs like Back in Black, for example. Right. 3 chords, E, D, A. But that little lick, do, 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 do,
Yeah.
Incredible. Timeless, as you say, right? There you go. Maybe you're right. Timeless rock.
Timeless rock. Give it the dog a bone. Also, anybody could sing AC/DC. Yeah.
That's
can't
the
they?
thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah.
I've heard you always hear AC/DC cover bands, and some guys really struggle with it, because it's just like a vocal shredder. It really is, right? Let me put my love into you,
babe.
This is like, so again, right? Like, double entendre after double entendre. Like the lyrics in this, Gene Simmons is like just like foaming with jealousy, Let me cut your cake with my knife. There is a Kiss lyric from an Animal, the record Animalize that came out like, I don't know, I want to say like 83. And one of the lyrics, believe it or not, was this Gene Simmons song. I want to put my log in your fireplace.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Really? That was an actual lyric. Yeah. I can't remember. I can't remember the name of the song, but
he was trying real hard, eh?
Well, Gene Simmons, let me cut your cake with my knife.
Okay, can you elaborate? Yeah, it's again cool. Like again, there's that. This is what I was saying. I was trying not to give anything too much away to you prior to hitting record, so we could talk about this. But I feel like we're getting there. Is it again good rock and roll, but just like honestly, I don't. It's tough to find a whole lot to talk about for me with it because it's cool, it's good, it's good riffs, but like I feel like that's just kind of like repeated after one after the other. That's all. It
is. Well, there are a couple cool, like, so here's a cool kind of story about that record. So when I was 11 years old when it came out.
Yeah.
Okay? So I was reading this magazine called Hit Parader, which I think we talked about on the show previously. It's a rock
you talked
magazine.
about it with Deeks on Scotch on the Rocks.
Oh, okay.
But heard it.
So this, somebody wrote a letter to this magazine. So this was in like, letters to the editor or whatever. And the letter claimed that there were two backwards messages to be found on AC/DC's Back in Black. One was in the song Hell's Bells, and the other one was in the song Back in Black. If you spin the record backwards on your player, you will hear, Satan has me prisoner, free me, right? On Back in Black, the message was, Satan helped me and he saved my life. Hail Satan, hail Satan. Again, you spin it backwards. So what do? I try it, right?
Ruined your record, didn't you?
My family's stylus was just destroyed, right? I'm like, I can't really hear it. But then, no, seriously, on the Back in Black, I thought I heard it, right? It was like kind of, truth bias. I'm like, okay, they told me it's there. There it is. I heard it. And you could hear like, hail Satan, hail Satan. Like, honestly, I mean, it's not real, but like I heard it as an 11-year-old kid.
Of course.
I was like, holy crap, it is there.
I'm a Satanist.
And it scared the shit out of me.
Oh, totally.
I was terrified of this record. And the album, the black cover, like Back in Black and Bong, Hell's Bells, like all of it, just like, throw all that stuff in the pot. And it was like, oh my God, I'm super terrified.
And here you are wearing a black shirt every Thursday night. It had to have had some kind of an impact.
That's right.
Because as much as I'm Back in Black from one week to the next, you're consistently Back in Black.
Johnny Cash.
It's cool you mentioned that Back in Black, like with like the silence, right? Because actually one of my first big introductions was listening to TNT. I know, Come At Me, whatever. Yeah, I heard Shook Me All Night Long, but like when I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 or 2, I think that TNT was a big one.
Did you say I think to me? Like, why would I know?
Yeah, well, I'm
Tony
just saying
Hawk's
it to
Pro
those
Skater.
who might be.
Is this a video game?
It's a video game, yeah.
Okay.
By Activision. You don't know Tony? It doesn't matter. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater had a great soundtrack. Every new game was just a fantastic soundtrack, and TNT was on one of the following, and it just brings me back because it's like another song of theirs that Not Afraid of Silence, to get in there, right? So just that's. Exactly.
Perfect.
And so anyways, I just wanted to, I mentioned that because Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, THPS, as the cool kids call it, was just reminded me.
Do they really call it that? THPS,
yeah. Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, PS.
Sometimes I worry about you, Alex.
Don't. I'm a gamer. I'm a skater. Never was.
Skater.
Back
Skater
Black.
Boy?
Cool tune, obviously. Like I had it on a mix CD.
Oh, you
back
did?
in the day. Back in Black.
What a like simple riff, but like so important.
So good.
You know,
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you ever see these guys live?
Oh, several times.
Man, jerk.
Yeah, several times. I'm going to tell you a story. I saw one of probably the most enjoyable shows that I saw them put on was in London, England, and it was at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium, the Olympic Stadium, just outside London. And Axl Rose was singing in the place of Brian Johnson because Brian Johnson had developed tinnitus, and he had left the band for a short period, and ACDC had like 13 shows to do. And so Axl Rose put his hand up and said, if you want, I will help you through those. And they said, yes, please. So for me, Axl Rose singing a song like Sin City, which is on another record, was like a dream come true, right? Like I needed to hear this. So I actually bought a plane ticket and went to London because it was only the 13 shows that he was filling in for were in Europe. And so I said, this is like chance of a lifetime. And I did, and I went. So Alex, like 60,000 people at this show, right? It's an open air stadium. And when Highway to Hell came on, people jumped. Everybody was jumping at the same time. 60,000 people all feeling that rhythm. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean about the simplicity of this record. It's based on rhythm only. Like you don't need anything else. You know, you hear the drum and like shake a leg, right? It's like 2-4, 2-4. You know, kick, snare, 2, 2, 2. That's all you need. And people were losing their minds, like in unison. Yeah. But that's the importance of rhythm, right? Our heartbeats are rhythmic. Like we can feel this stuff. It's in our DNA. That's what makes ACDC special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it, man. That's awesome. That's got to be like, I know it's probably so part of like loving these albums too, right? And we talked about Alice Cooper and, you know, why people love that and because seeing his live shows and things like that. And, you know, just having that experience must just be, just, you know, it just must add to the love of a band. But like,
and Angus Young, you know, he does that whole, I don't know if you know this, he dressed like a schoolboy, but over the course of the show, he strips, right? Or he used to. So he takes off his jacket and then he plays another tune and he takes off his tie and then it's, you know, so by the end he's in his shorts only, but he's running around the stage. They said that he covered 3 miles a night running back and forth on the stage, 3 miles average.
Wild.
Yeah.
I was reading about why he does that, why he moves so much. So he gets stage fright, and I guess he still gets stage fright to this day.
Really, eh?
Yeah, and so he would go out there, and even being dressed as a schoolboy, that was when he was like most scared. And there were points where Malcolm used to like boot him onto the stage to like actually physically kick him to get him to go out there.
Wow.
And so he was afraid of having bottles thrown at him being dressed that way. So he just told himself, you got to keep moving. No. You got to keep moving so that people don't throw things at you. And if they throw things at you, you keep moving. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So
wow,
that's why
I didn't know that.
That's why I guess he just keeps moving. But yeah, I guess even to this day, he gets stage fright going out there to play.
I had no idea. Makes sense.
Yeah.
His sister gave them the idea to wear that schoolboy outfit. And they also gave him, I think they gave the band their name. She was looking at her sewing machine or something, and the outlet said ACDC output.
Cool.
And so she said that would be a good name for a band for you guys.
Yeah.
And then she suggested to him to wear a schoolboy outfit, that it would get people's attention. And he tried it, and it worked.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool, huh?
Totally cool. Yeah, You Shook Me All Night Long. I think it's my aunt's favorite song. It's
I actually really, I'm done with this song. This is a song that I never ever need to hear again in my life.
At a wedding.
It's a good song. Well, yeah, but I mean, like, how many times have you heard this song? I change the station when this comes on. I do, and that's bad.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's so overplayed.
Yeah.
Right?
You keep bringing up the radio. You got to stop listening to the radio, and you got to put on the Timeless Rock playlist.
Timeless Rock. Look at you, and then you take like this authoritative drink after you say that.
It's gonna happen. So great.
Like you're so proud. That was so funny.
I just had nothing else to say after. I just had nothing else to say. So I just tried to put a glass of bourbon in my mouth.
Good song. Okay, so these are Bon Scott's lyrics, and there are a couple of notable lines. Cool lyric. She told me to come, but I was already there. Apparently, a girlfriend of his testified that Bon wrote those in her apartment, and he said that in a letter to someone. He actually used that kind of turn of phrase in a letter that he wrote to somebody, and she still had the letter apparently. And then knocking me out with those American thighs was on purpose because they were trying to capture, or trying to get into the American market. And that was a Bon idea. And so he had that written down in this huge kind of notebook that he had of lyrics that he kept with him. So apparently he wrote most of the lyrics for You Shook Me All Night Long. That's, anyway, it's a claim.
Right.
The band says, no, that's not true, but.
You were saying that his girlfriend testified, but you were saying kind of drew out the I thought you were going to say she texted the words.
She textified?
No, I thought she was Sassified.
There you go. See, perfect. Look at you. Well versed in timeless rock.
That's it. It's working. It's rubbing off.
Oh my God, I said it.
You're welcome.
It's a thing. You're a trendsetter.
It's happening. It's happening, folks.
It's going well.
Yeah. Well, Have a Drink on Me is after You Shook Me All Night Long.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. There's similarity, but these songs are good. I don't know. I have no problem with the fact that they repeat. Like I said, I mean, artistic growth. Who cares? Yeah. You've got a good thing here. It's that rhythmic thing. I don't know. You know what though? I will say on top of that, bands try to replicate this and they don't.
100%.
They don't capture it. I'm not going to slag them, but this formula has been replicated a zillion times, but it's not nearly as interesting for some reason.
The thing is, you can put any song of this album on. Right, you're not gonna skip it. You're at a party, you want to put a song on, you could literally pick any song from this album and keep the party going.
Totally,
it doesn't matter, right?
That's the magic.
That is the magic of it, right? Where it's isn't this? Well, it's ACDC. Well, I've never heard this song before. You haven't, but you have, but it's still good.
That's right. It's just shit kicker rock,
That's it.
It's super simple, and every song has that authoritative kind of shit kicking feel, right?
Yeah,
it's not like some of them are skip. This is yep, that one too, definitely play that one. Yep, that one too, right?
Yeah,
fair. It keeps the party going. That's a great way to describe it. You're right, because that's very interesting. That's a very interesting observation. Think about that. Think about records where if the party is going and you put the wrong song on, the vibe kind of slows down and people are like, ooh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think you could do that with this record.
Shake a Leg, great, another great riff.
Totally.
It's just driving,
good,
fun.
Upbeat,
Yeah.
Good, mid-tempo tune, up-tempo. Yeah.
They could be singing about the worst shit in the world, and you'd see me in the corner,
just like that, dancing like the guy from Fresh Prince, Carlton. Oh, I knew you could do that. I knew it. And the face, I said, I knew it. You do that at parties?
When asked.
And sometimes not when. Yeah.
Sometimes not when. Sometimes it just happens. It's the moment compels
sometimes
me.
or every time. Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution was a single, which is really weird. I don't understand. It's not a single for me, but it was selected as such.
A bit different. Bit of a different song on the album. Good way to conclude it, I think.
I think so too. It's a nice cap.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I should say Shake a Leg was number 9 But again, I think this, within this album, there really is.
There's no number 9s.
No number 9.
No, it's like your 13th floor, right?
The 13th floor reference, exactly.
It goes from 12 to 14.
Yeah. Easy.
No, it goes from 8 to 10. There's no number 9 on this record.
Did you know there's 11 songs on Back in Black?
How funny would that be if you looked at like the tune stack on the back, and it was like 1, 2, 8, 8, 10.
8, 8, 10. Yeah, I love it. That's so good. That's so good. If I ever make an album, God knows why I would, I'm totally leaving out number 9.
8, 8, 10.
Even if what should be number 9 is a shit song, it's not going to be labeled 9.
8, 10, 11.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not really a band shrouded in controversy, eh? Like they weren't really, or were they? Like I don't know that I've ever really heard of ACDC. Well, just being in the headlines for anything obscene or I mean, I guess your lead singer dying of, what they called alcohol poisoning,
Yeah. He was the only controversial character in Phil Rudd later on, the drummer, was a bit of a hellraiser. But aside from that, AC/DC, were almost like Bon Jovi in that way, right? Like they just they were very, they kept all their business tightly encircled.
I think a good way to cap it off would be to talk about the reason why the album was black. The album cover was black, and I'm not sure why they called it Back in Black, but
I think apparently it was out of respect for Bon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they originally wanted it all black, and then the record label, was like, no, we need to be able to see something, so they embossed AC/DC and added a white outline or a gray outline to make it stand out, but they really wanted it to just be all black.
And the end result was perfect for me. Like I thought it was really, really good. I don't know if a completely black cover would have been the way to go, but the end result was ideal. I thought. I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice tribute.
4 out of 5 from me. This album.
Not a 5, eh? Where's the last mark? Originality?
Well, yeah, it's just
repetition.
It's repetition. Like I said, I didn't, when I listened to Rush, I wanted to go back. I was excited to listen to where those songs took me, and when I think about this, it's good, but like I just, I had to like take it in spurts because it was like, I don't need to go at 120 all the time right now.
I'm going to make an observation. So and there's no right or wrong here, you grade these records based on how they sound against each other. I would grade these records based on the catalogs that they come from over the band's career. Isn't that funny?
Totally. Well, the catalogs.
No, exactly. And that's why I said there's no right or wrong, right? So this is interesting that you will look at Born to Run and compare it to Back in Black or Van Halen 2 or whatever. And then you'll kind of grade it based on that kind of.
Yeah. Well, it's not right. First of all, it's not right because they're different. These are different pieces. There's different music. I hope
for the purposes of this show, I think that there's an accuracy about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
sure.
Totally.
Why not?
Totally. Cause that's what we're coming off of for sure. Mm-hmm. But I understand that there are differences in these albums, but I think it's what I don't know. I think I finally have something to maybe actually like not necessarily compare them to, but to like hold an emotion to. I know how I felt when I listened to Born to Run and when I listened to Moving Pictures and when I listened to these albums that like make me feel something and something that I really like in the music. Not necessarily that it needs to be like that all the time, but I think that now that I have listened to these albums, it kind of gives me that sense of like, this album didn't have it. How can I look at that right? Because I felt like that with Master of Puppets initially, where I was like, it's sort of all the same, Yeah. And then, again, not to compare it to Back in Black, but then I listened to this and I was like, wow, it really isn't. It kind of just I don't know, maybe appreciate it a little. I don't know where I'm going with it, but it just
no. I know exactly where you're going, and I think that's a very I would do. I'm impressed by that.
No, thanks.
I don't know how to describe it, but I think that is an extremely valid way of kind of, regarding these records. I think that, like, based on emotion and how they make you feel. Yeah. So I was kind of presumptuous, and I take that back now. You can't really, compare Master of Puppets to Moving Pictures to, Shake Your Moneymaker.
Right.
But if you're using emotion and the ability of the records to elicit an emotional response from you, then that is an excellent way to evaluate a record.
Well, that's how I'm evaluating them.
Well done, then. I think that's great.
That's my thought, because I totally understand that, and I could see that perspective from people, like, oh, you really can't compare these two. And I'm not trying to compare them. I think I'm just comparing how each one has made me feel, really.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, for the purposes of the show, it's kind of like just that's a less kind of broad way of kind of considering the records, right? But I think that based on, and Alex, that's really what music is all about, right? Music's ability to elicit an emotional response.
Yeah.
So using that as a grading system,
yeah,
you can't go wrong.
What would you rate this album?
I'd give it a 5 out of 5, just because I can't find a fault in it. It's just, it impresses me. Yeah. From start to end. Yeah. It really does.
Everybody, chime in where you can, and you want to rate, if you want to rate it too, leave a comment.
In the comments.
Rate the album.
In the comments, rate. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Don't rate for shock. There's always going to be somebody who's like, it's a 1.
That's my job. Yeah. See Master of Puppets.
You're the shocker. Exactly.
That's it, baby. Yeah. So where are we going to next?
Oh.
If you have something.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking. So in the previous episode, this is like 3 episodes ago. I can never figure this out chronologically. Moving Pictures. I said Powerage, and a couple of viewers were like, yeah, that's like ACDC's best record, which I was very surprised about. You want to do another ACDC record? First question.
If we're going to do one, maybe we do Powerage, only because it goes back that far.
Okay.
If we were to do like Highway to Hell, I'd be like, maybe not this week.
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd suggest that one.
Right. So yeah, I think if we would do one, it would be, I'd be interested in that, to go that far back.
Okay. Done.
Powerage.
Yep. I think it's 78. 78 it is.
AC/DC's Powerage is on the record player.
Alrighty. Don't spin it backwards.
Don't spin it backwards. Don't do that.
When it's on the player. You wreck the stylus.
You got it.
You make your mom very mad.
Brent, how am I going to listen to Sinatra again? I can't listen to Sinatra if I don't have a stylus on my record player.
I wonder if Sinatra had backwards messages about Satan
in his records. He did. People weren't brave enough to play him backwards, or they weren't brave enough to actually bring it forward, or whoever brought it forward was promptly shot by the mafia.
Maybe. Satan helped me and he saved my life. Hail Satan. Hail Satan.
Hail 1792.
Hail.
All right. Cheers, man.
Good night, brother.
Good night. See you next week.
Cheers.